Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. I never thought that my life would fall apart overnight, but the moment I pushed open that door, I knew that everything I had ever had would be for naught. My name is Jack Thompson, and I was once one of the most successful investment banking managers in New York. I say was because right now, I'm sitting in a cold interrogation room in front of an unsmiling police detective trying to explain how I went from being the golden boy of Wall Street to a suspected insider trader. But let me start at the beginning. Just 3 months ago, my life was what many people only dream of. I own a multi-million-dollar townhouse on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. My wife, Olivia, is a beautiful and elegant gallery owner, and we have a lovely daughter, Emma. At work, I manage a couple of stellar funds that generate great returns for my clients while making a lot of money for myself. I thought I had everything good in the world. Until that night. That afternoon, I received an urgent call from an important client requesting that I fly to Los Angeles immediately to work on a complex M&A transaction. I hurriedly packed my bags and left Olivia a message telling her I might be traveling for a few days. "Don't worry, honey," I said in my voicemail. "I'll be back as soon as I can. Take care of yourself and Emma." However, fate seems to be playing a cruel joke on me. Shortly after I arrived at the airport, that deal suddenly fell through. The client had a temporary change of heart and canceled all plans. I was a little frustrated, but relieved at the same time. It means I can go home early and maybe surprise Olivia. I decided not to tell Olivia about my early return. I wanted to surprise her, and maybe we could enjoy an unexpected romantic evening together. By the time I dragged my tired body home, it was almost 1 in the morning. I pushed open the door to my house gently, not wanting to wake Olivia and Emma, who were probably already asleep. However, I heard voices coming from the bedroom. It was Olivia's laugh and a man's voice. My heart sank to the bottom. I stood outside my bedroom door, my hand on the knob, debating whether or not to push it open. At that moment, how I hoped it was just a nightmare and I would wake up and realize Olivia was still the same wife who loved me so much. But reality is always cruel. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The sight in front of me made me lose my ability to breathe for a moment. Olivia, my beautiful wife, is entangled with a man in our marital bed. The man, I recognized, was Nathan Ramsey, our family lawyer and a friend of mine for many years. "Jack!" exclaimed Olivia, pulling the covers up over her body in panic. Nathan, on the other hand, quickly jumped out of bed and began to get dressed. I stood there and felt the world crumble beneath me. Our marriage, our friendship, all the things I thought were indestructible turned out to be one big lie in this moment. Aren't you supposed to be in LA?" Olivia stammered, a mixture of horror and guilt on her face. I looked at her coldly, the anger and pain in my heart almost consuming me. "Looks like you guys are celebrating my business trip." For the next few days, I was like the walking dead. I tried to negotiate a divorce with Olivia, but she refused. She said she loved me, and she loved Nathan, and she wanted an open marriage. "Jack, don't be so cliché," she said gently. "It's the 21st century. We have more options. I can't accept this arrangement." I told her in no uncertain terms to either end the relationship with Nathan or we get a divorce. It was at this point that things started to go in a worse direction. One morning, when I walked into my office, I found FBI agents waiting for me. They accused me of using insider information to trade illegally and make huge profits. I was shocked because I had never done anything like this before. However, the evidence all seems to be against me. I have been provided with my phone records, bank statements, and even videos of my secret meetings with certain company executives. The evidence was all forged, but so skillfully done that even I was beginning to wonder if I had actually done them. It wasn't until the moment I was brought to court that it dawned on me. Standing on the witness stand were, quite literally, Olivia and Nathan. They testified facetiously, claiming to have witnessed me trading on insider information. At that moment, I finally understood. It was all an elaborate trap, and I, for one, was the prey of that trap. In the end, despite my strong defense, the court found me guilty. I was sentenced to 2 years in prison, lost my job, my reputation, even my freedom. As I was escorted out of the courtroom, I saw Olivia and Nathan standing together, not a hint of guilt in their eyes, only the joy of victory. I suddenly realized that my wife, whom I once loved dearly, had become a complete stranger whom I did not recognize. And just like that, I, Jack Thompson, went from Wall Street's financial elite to ACA prison inmate number 2, 46789 overnight. But they're wrong if they think that's going to bring me down. I, Jack Thompson, can lose everything, but I will never lose my dignity or my justice. I know that this is just a turning point in my life. Behind bars, I'll pick myself up, I'll find the truth, and I'll claim everything I deserve. Because I know that this story is far from over. The iron door slammed shut and my new life began. That first night in ACA prison, I lay in my cramped bunk, listening to the snoring and occasional cursing that rose and fell around me, and reflecting on all that had happened in the past 24 hours. My former Wall Street elite is now prisoner number 2, 46789. Adjusting to prison life is not easy. Breakfast was an unpalatable mush, and lunch and dinner weren't much better. The inmates' eyes were hostile and contemptuous, as if to say, "Look at that, another smug white-collar criminal." But I knew I couldn't let this circumstance get me down. I had to keep my head on straight and prepare myself to clear my name. In the library, I found some law books. Although I was once a financial expert, I must now become a legal expert. Every day, I spend hours reading this obscure legal literature, trying to find information that will help me. "Hey, nerd." A lanky inmate walked up to me one day. "What's the point of you pretending to read here?" I looked up at him calmly. "Maybe someday that knowledge will help me regain my freedom." He scoffed. "Freedom? The only freedom you have here is the choice of eating or getting beaten." I ignored his taunts and continued to focus on my reading. Gradually, the other inmates began to look at me differently. They found that I was able to not only help myself, but also answer some of their legal questions. That's how I slowly built up my own little circle in prison. Some inmates will approach me during release time to discuss their cases, and I am happy to offer some advice. Not only did this make my prison life more meaningful, but it also gave me a better understanding of the justice system as a whole. However, I never lost sight of my goal. I need to find evidence to prove my innocence, and that requires outside help. Just one day, 3 months after I went to jail, my best friend Alex came to visit me. "Jack, you look not so good," Alex said with some concern as she sat across the glass in the visitor's room. I laughed bitterly. "This isn't a five-star hotel, Alex, but I'm holding up." We exchanged a few brief pleasantries, then I lowered my voice and said, "Alex, I need you to do me a favor." Alex was immediately alert. "What favor?" "I need you to put me in touch with a private investigator, preferably the kind who isn't afraid to offend the powerful." I said, "I suspect Olivia and Nathan are doing more than just cheating. They must be planning something behind the scenes." Alex frowned. "You mean, you think they set you up on purpose?" I nodded. "That's right. I need proof. Not only the evidence of their cheating, but more importantly, I need to prove that Nathan faked the evidence that accused me of insider trading." Alex was silent for a moment, then said, "I know a private investigator named Mike who has helped me before. I can contact him." "Great," I said. "Let him investigate everything about Olivia and Nathan. Their whereabouts, call logs, bank accounts, anything we can find." Just then, a prison guard approached, signaling that visiting hours were over. Alex stood up and tapped the glass as if to give me a hug. "Don't worry, Jack. We will find the truth." I nodded and watched Alex leave. As I was brought back to my cell, a glimmer of hope flared in my heart. The moment the prison doors opened, I took a deep breath of fresh air. 2 years in prison were finally over, but I knew that the real battle was just beginning. Alex was waiting for me at the door, a smile on his face with obvious concern. "Welcome back, Jack," he said as he gave me a firm hug. "Thank you, Alex," I said. "Without your support, I might have actually broken down." We got in the car and Alex handed me a thick folder. "This is all the new evidence Mike has collected over the past 2 years." I quickly flipped through the folder, which contained more pictures of Olivia and Nathan, as well as some files I hadn't seen before. Each page reinforces my conviction that I'm on the right track with my revenge plan. Jack, Alex said seriously, I know you're angry right now, but don't do anything stupid. We have to be wise, not reckless. I took a deep breath and nodded. Don't worry, I have a plan. First, I'm getting Olivia out of my house. Half an hour later, we arrived at my mansion. I stood in the doorway, staring at the house that once represented my success, but now only made me feel a wave of revulsion. I opened the door with my key, and the sight inside froze me in my tracks. Olivia's stuff is still there, and it looks like she's been living here forever. Just then Olivia came out of the kitchen, and when she saw me, she turned pale instantly. Jack? You're back? She stammered. I looked at her coldly. Looks like you don't want to see me at all, Olivia. What? Didn't think I'd be out so soon. Olivia quickly composed herself and gave a forced smile. How come? I've been waiting for you to come back. We're still married, aren't we? I sneered. Save it, Olivia. We all know what the truth is. You and Nathan betrayed me, then conspired to set me up for prison. What's all this pretense of chastity now? Without waiting for her to answer, I stride towards the bedroom and start ripping her clothes out of the closet. Olivia followed me in panic. Jack, what are you doing? I ignored her and proceeded to throw her clothes, jewelry, makeup, everything that belonged to her into a large trash bag. Jack, stop. Those are name tags. Olivia screamed. I turned and looked at her coldly. Just like you threw my life in the trash. With that said, I dragged the garbage bag out into the yard and dumped the entire contents into the dumpster. Olivia looked on, her face white with tears. Jack, please, don't do this. We can talk? I interrupted her. There's nothing to talk about. Please get out now immediately. With that said, I turned toward my study and began to implement the next step in my plan. I contacted a printing company to print a poster of Mike's intimate photo of Olivia and Nathan. I then personally put these posters up all over the neighborhood in the dead of night. With each poster, I included an open letter. Dear neighbors, this is the true face of betrayal and deception. Olivia Thompson and Nathan Ramsey not only destroyed my marriage, they sent me to prison under false pretenses. Please be careful to watch out for these cunning lovers who may have their sights set on your spouse. You're wrong, neighbor, Jack Thompson. The next morning, the whole neighborhood exploded. I stood at the window and watched people stop to look at those posters and whisper. Olivia was getting ready to come back to me to negotiate, saw this, and immediately got out of the car to tear down the posters. But it was too late, and her carefully maintained image crumbled overnight. Just then, my cell phone rang. It's Mike. Jack, I have made an important discovery. Mike's voice was filled with excitement. I have found evidence that Nathan is not only having inappropriate relationships with multiple women, but he is also married. The news froze me. Although I've known about Nathan and Olivia for a long time, this new information really surprised me. Are you sure, Mike? 1,000 times over. Mike said his wife's name is Sarah Ramsey and she's a successful entrepreneur. It seems Nathan has been playing both sides of life. My brain raced. This information could be the key to turning things around. Mike, I need Sarah's contact information. Immediately after hanging up, I contacted Sarah Ramsey. At first, she half believed my story, but when I showed the evidence Mike had gathered, she broke down. I can't believe it. Sarah choked out, how could Nathan do this to me? I deeply sympathize with Sarah because I know what it's like to be betrayed. But at the same time, I saw an opportunity. Sarah, I said cautiously, I know this is a shock to you, but we can work together. Together, we can make Nathan pay. Will you help me? Sarah wiped away her tears, a flicker of determination in her eyes. What do I do? Just as I was about to explain my plan in detail, Sarah's cell phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen and turned pale. It's Nathan, she whispered. Sarah's finger hung above the call button, hesitant. I could see the internal struggle she was having, whether to confront Nathan directly about his lies or to continue to feign ignorance. Finally, she took a deep breath and picked up the phone. Nathan, dear, her voice was surprisingly calm. What can I do for you? I pricked up my ears and strained to hear Nathan's voice on the other end of the line. It's hard to hear, but from the ever-changing expression on Sarah's face, I'm guessing that Nathan is concocting an elaborate lie. When the call ended, Sarah shuddered and put the phone down, anger and determination in her eyes. He said he was traveling for a few days, she sneered. Apparently, he's going to see his other wife. I nodded. It gives us a chance. Sarah, would you like me to scrutinize the house for you while he's gone? Maybe we can find more evidence. Sarah hesitated, but quickly made up her mind. Okay, we'll move tomorrow. The next day, when Nathan left the house, we began our undercover investigation. Sarah led me into their mansion, and we went straight to Nathan's study. He always keeps this place locked up tight, Sarah said, unlocking the door to her room with her key. And now I know why. We began to scrutinize every corner, going through papers, checking drawers, looking at computer files. After hours of meticulous searching, we finally made a major discovery. At the bottom of a seemingly ordinary folder, we found a stack of hidden files and a couple of USB drives. As we began to skim through the files, Sarah suddenly sucked in a cold breath. My God, she shuddered. These are all forged evidence. Look, here's the file on your case, Jack, and a couple of other people's. I scrutinized those documents, the anger in my heart growing. These documents clearly show how Nathan falsified evidence to frame not only me, but other innocent people as well. We need to get this information out there, I said, but we have to do it carefully. Nathan obviously has a lot of co-conspirators. Just then, Sarah's eyes fell on a small device on the desk. Wait, what's this? I got closer to check it out and it dawned on me. It was a recording device. Sarah, can you install it in Nathan's office? Sarah nodded, a determined gleam in her eyes. No problem. I know the right place. Over the next few days, we paid close attention to the information coming in from the recording device. Finally, on the third day, we captured the key evidence. Nathan was on the phone with an accomplice, discussing at length how to falsify evidence to frame another innocent businessman. The recording not only confirms his criminal behavior, but also reveals a criminal network behind him. We have him, I said calmly, but we need more just to be sure. Sarah, can you keep an eye on the house? There may be other clues to be found. Sarah agreed, but her expression suddenly became serious. Jack, it's the right thing for us to do, but I feel scared. What if Nathan finds out? I took her hand and said firmly, Don't worry, Sarah. I won't let him hurt you. Let's face this together, okay? Sarah nodded, a flash of emotion in her eyes that I couldn't decipher. Just then, her cell phone rang. It was a text from Nathan saying he'd be back tomorrow. We exchanged a nervous glance. Time is running out. We must move faster. Tomorrow, I said, is the key. We have to organize all the evidence and then decide what to do next. Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow, Jack. She hesitated. Thank you. Without you, I might never have known the truth. I smiled and squeezed her hand. We help each other. Remember, soon this will all be over. By the time I left Sarah's house, night had overtaken the city. I walked down the street with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Tomorrow, we will reveal all of Nathan's secrets and put an end to this nightmare. But I also know that the most dangerous moment may be just around the corner. After gathering enough evidence, Sarah and I decided to take action. We contacted the police and provided all the material we had, documents that Nathan had forged, audio evidence, and suspicious documents that Sarah had inadvertently kept over the years. The police acted quickly. Nathan was arrested on an ordinary weekday as he was on his way to the office. I learned through Sarah that the shock and fear on Nathan's face when he saw the police show up on his doorstep was palpable. A few hours later, I received a call from the police informing me that Olivia had also been arrested for perjury. Even though I didn't witness the scene, imagining her being taken away didn't make a dent in my heart. The anger and sense of betrayal that had built up over the years left me with no sympathy for her. The case has attracted widespread media attention. Throughout the trial, I maintained a calm exterior, but the anger inside never subsided. Every time I see Olivia and Nathan in court, I have to fight the urge to rush up and question them. During the trial, the prosecution presented a large amount of evidence. Nathan's defense attorney tried to exonerate him, but the evidence was overwhelming. When Olivia took the stand as an accomplice, she choked up and confessed to her crime, describing in detail how she was convinced by Nathan to commit perjury. I watched coldly, with nothing but disgust and anger in my heart. Ultimately, the court rendered its judgment. Nathan was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment on multiple counts, including falsifying evidence, defamation, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. Olivia, in turn, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for perjury. As the judge read the verdict, I felt a mixture of emotions. Relief, but more than that, anger at this nightmarish marriage. Immediately after the trial, I filed a divorce suit in court. I'm going to completely cut off all contact with Olivia and end this sickening marriage. Olivia also seemed to realize the impossibility of redemption, and her attorney quickly agreed to the terms of the divorce. The day I signed the divorce papers, I finally got to see Olivia one last time. She was escorted to the courthouse, wearing a prison uniform, and tried to say something, but I interrupted her. "Save it, Olivia," I said coldly. "It's been over between us for a long time. You and Nathan ruined my life, and now you're finally getting what you deserve." After signing the last document, I walked out of the courtroom without looking back. In this moment, I felt a relief I had never felt before. I was formally acquitted of all charges and was awarded a large sum of money. My attorney Alex suggested that I could sue further for more compensation, but I just want to put it all on the back burner. "Alex," I said, "I'd like to use some of this money to help people who have been wronged like me. Can we start a foundation?" Alex nodded approvingly. "That's a great idea, Jack. We can plan it well." Sarah held my hand as we left the courthouse. "It's over," she whispered. "You're finally free." I looked at her, grateful. "Thank you, Sarah. None of this would have been possible without your courage." "What's next for you?" Sarah asked. I took a deep breath and felt my newfound freedom. "First, I have to rebuild my life. And then I'm going to make sure that people like Nathan and Olivia can never hurt innocent people again." Sarah smiled and said, "Sounds like a great plan. Maybe we could work together?" I looked at Sarah and felt a peace that had been missing for a long time. All the anger and pain that once existed seemed distant in this moment. I know that there is a long road ahead and many wounds that will take time to heal. But at this moment, I can finally say, "Yes, Sarah, let's see what we can do for the world." As I turned to leave the courthouse, I didn't look back. The past chapter is over, for better or worse. Now it's time to write my own story. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.